What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Farzy Show. Happy Friday! Oh boy, oh boy. So everything was in action last night. Yesterday, I should say. Everything. Phillies got bounced. Phillies still in action. Dave Dombrowski spoke. Rob Thompson spoke. Didn't get great vibes from either of them, to be honest with you. You have the Eagles taking on the Commanders, of course, this Sunday at 1 o'clock kickoff. Look at this. We got a normal day of football for a Sunday. How about that? And then the Flyers won. That was great. And the Sixers blew it. They blew it against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I did not, as you know, yesterday, I told you, I didn't expect them to win. I did not expect them to win. I'm not expecting some stellar season. I'm not even expecting necessarily a 50-win season. I was on Bill Colarulo's show yesterday. And by the way, I'm doing his show every Thursday at 10:20. I talked about this Sixers team, and my expectation is in the range. I'll narrow it down to 5 games. 45 to 50 wins. They could get back to 50. The team I saw last night will win 50 games. It's a matter of that is going to be sustainable. I saw some great things last night. I saw some terrible things last night. We will dissect and talk about it all on today's program. So thank you for having me along for the ride. This is what, and thank you for being here along the ride. Here's what I got. First and foremost, I want to start it off with the injury report here for the Philadelphia Eagles, because this has been this is a sight for sore eyes. I know James Bradbury's been dealing with an ankle. I know Zach Cunningham's been dealing with an ankle. Jordan Davis has got a hamstring injury. Milton Williams has got a heel injury. Yeah, that's Heel. His heel has to heal, all right? But he was a limited participant. And then Reed Blankenship, full participant with that rib injury, his second rib injury of the season. And we know how important Reed Blankenship is in a Commanders-Eagles matchup, judging from their first matchup this season. And then Bradley Roby is the only one that did not participate due to his shoulder injury. So that's what we're looking at as far as the injury report goes that came out yesterday. We'll see which one comes out today, and hopefully we'll see those guys that have LP next to their name. Hopefully we'll see that bumped up to full participant today. The Reed Blankenship thing is perfect. So let's get into our 5 things we're going to be looking at in this game coming up on Sunday. Jump right into it. First and foremost, looking at this Eagles game, I can't wait. The most obvious of obvious things, but I have to say it because I'm so excited for it. Kevin Byard back there in the secondary as a starting safety, playing next to Reed Blankenship. Now, Reed Blankenship, while he's been out there, has been very good. Kevin Byard has not had that opportunity yet with the Eagles since being traded there this week. So this will be our first chance to see those two working together in the Eagles secondary, patrolling the secondary for this squad. I am so excited for this. I was really trying to rack my brain as to when I have been this excited about it, an in-season debut. Jay Ajayi definitely comes to mind. He came up here from Miami having 200-yard games in the previous season. The guy could run all over the place. The Eagles don't really invest in running backs, so to see them actually bring in LeGarrette Blount and then Jay Ajayi during the trade deadline, LeGarrette Blount before the season and Jay Ajayi during the season, that was spectacular. Absolutely love it. They had a rookie named Corey Clement that was going out there and just dominating in the Super Bowl. That was fantastic. I'm trying to think of all these guys that came in here in the midseason and the trade deadline acquisitions. Golden Tate was exciting. Even for me, this is even better because I think you have the opportunity here to now be a dominant defense. The thing I keep bringing up before you bring in Kevin Byard, the thing I keep bringing up is that you had the third-ranked defense. You right now have the third-ranked defense in the entire NFL in terms of yards per game. Now you're throwing in that phenomenal talent in Kevin Byard back there. The Golden Tate thing, as we know, didn't work out too well. But this, I have a feeling, is really going to work out. I can't wait to see how this all breaks down. The second thing I'm looking at in this game also has to do with this Eagles defense and how Kevin Byard is going to play into this, because it goes down with the happy marriage between the pass rush and then the pass defense, the secondary. I didn't realize I knew Sam Howell had been sacked a ton. I didn't realize he was on pace for the record. So David Carr, not Derek Carr, David Carr was sacked 76 times in his rookie season with the Houston Texans. So that's going back a little ways, okay? Sam Howell's on pace for 80 sacks. So 76 is a record. Sam Howell's on pace for 80 sacks. He's getting sacked 5.7 times per week. The Eagles got to him 5 times in their previous matchup this season. Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, your linebacker core. Yeah, hell, even Kevin Byard. Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith, now that he's part of the party. All these guys. If you don't look at Sam Howell like he is a big old greasy, meal after a night of drinking. If you don't look at him like, oh, man, I just want to, oh, my God, I'm going to take that guy down. Oh, my goodness. There's something wrong with you. And to get to him the amount of times we were able to get to him before, to have the success in getting to him, I think this is going to be a huge factor in this game. Now, Sam Howell has shrugged this off. The Commanders have had issues on the season, as we know. They started out strong and then really fell apart, and the Eagles were a part of falling apart. The interesting thing with them is that when the Eagles faced them, obviously, they went to overtime, which brings me to my third thing here. One is Kevin Byard. 2 is the Eagles pass rush. 3, when it comes to this Eagles team, please, I'm going to ask nicely. This is a game you should win. This is a game you should improve to 7-1. Don't do the thing that we hate when teams do. Don't do the thing. The thing is, don't play down to your opponent. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. Don't play down to your opponent. Don't have stupid penalties. A.J. Brown, if you're going to happen to catch a touchdown pass with like a minute 36 left in the game, maybe not a taunting penalty. That then gives them the ball, basically an 11-yard gain on the return, and then you're screwed after that. Maybe right there, don't do that part. Don't do that part. Sean Desai, last time, yes, like I said, successful in getting after the Sam Howell. That's great. Everyone stay disciplined on the defensive side of the football. Everyone stay disciplined on the offensive side of the football. And this should be an easy win for the Eagles. This should be a very easy win for the Eagles. I'm not scared of the first time the Eagles faced them, but I would just very much like a Philadelphia team to do exactly what they're supposed to do against an inferior opponent. And this would be a good opportunity to do that against the inferior opponent in the Washington Commanders. I understand you have a game here that is, without question, one of the easier games you have over the next 4 weeks. So by all means, put the win in the bag. Put it in the bank, bank the win, stack the W's before you go on into what is being referred to as the gauntlet of the Eagles' schedule. So that's what I would like to see. That's what I'd like to see take place with the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. Don't do anything stupid. Don't play down to your opponent, and you should come away with the easy victory. It feels like nothing is guaranteed, especially having just watched the Phillies lose 2 games at home in the NLCS. It feels like not a lot is promised to you right now. Anything can happen. Arizona Diamondbacks, an 84-win team, could beat your 90-win team and make it to the World Series and leave you out of it. I'm not going to let that. I'm not going to let it affect my emotions going into this Eagles game. I'm not going to do a cross-sport thing. I'm not going to do that. One team is its own entity. The other team is its other entity. They're separate. Number 4 on this list here. It should be number 1, but I just think he's healthy enough to play. I don't think he's going to make it any worse. I don't think he'd be playing if he'd make it any worse. The fact that he hasn't shown up on the injury report is obviously a great thing, but Jalen Hurts. The only concern I have, I just need him to play smart, need him to play safe, not tentative, not scared. Not that I've ever seen him play scared, but just don't get to that point. I just need to know that he's healthy. The only thing I'm concerned about is that when talk started to ramp up going into that Los Angeles Rams game in LA about Jalen Hurts not running a lot and not looking like the same guy, he started breaking off runs left and right. I don't know if he's healthy enough to respond to either criticism or questioning in that same way this week. The knee issue is a concern for me. As I've said before, it's not a concern right now. It's a concern for later in the season. Can the wear and tear build up? Will the injury affect a decision he makes on the field that could put him more in peril? That's what I'm concerned about. So when I watch this game on Sunday, I just want to see Jalen Hurts look healthy. I want to see him safe in the pocket. I want to see him get rid of the football if he needs to get rid of the football to avoid a hit. I want to see him if he's got to scramble to avoid more contact and buy that time. If he's got to scramble for a couple of yards, get out of bounds, get down, all that stuff. I just want to see him look healthy. Now, obviously, when I say the scramble for more yards and get down and stay healthy and all that stuff, I want to see it look more like it did last year than how it has looked this year, because this year has definitely been hesitant or tentative or maybe overly cautious. But now that we know he's got an injury and he has talked about said injury, we know it's a real thing and it's not just speculation. We know he's got a knee brace on. Oh, so there is an injury. He has confirmed there's an injury. We still don't know when it happened. We still don't even know really what the injury is other than it's the knee. So I would just like to see him come out of this game healthy. I'd like to see him during the game look strong, and I would like to see him not take maybe unnecessary risks is the way I'll put it. So that's what I'd like to see. Above all else in this game against the Washington Commanders, red zone efficiency is something that absolutely I need to see. And it comes down to play calling, and it comes down to Brian Johnson. I do not have a lot of faith in Brian Johnson. Just like most of you, you don't have a lot of faith in Brian Johnson. The last time they faced the Commanders, they only had 2 red zone appearances, if you can believe it. In a 34-point performance, they just had 2 red zone appearances. They scored in one of them. 50% red zone efficiency. All right there, fella. Let's see what... Shut up, computer. Just 50% red zone efficiency. That's good. That's really good. What's really bad is the third down efficiency they had against the Washington Commanders. In the previous matchup, they were 4 for 12. 4 for 12 on converting third downs. The good news is when they had to run a play on fourth down, they were successful both times they did that. I would like to see the Eagles go out there and handle the business as far as the third down conversions go. There's going to be issues where you don't have things work out for you on first and second down, as we all know. So maybe a little bit better of an efficiency in that regard will really help you get to a win. The other thing, when it comes to Brian Johnson and play calling and how he can help that third down efficiency and what he can do for this team overall, I think it comes down to really owning the clock. And how are you going to own that clock? Last meeting, you only beat the Washington Commanders by 5 minutes in terms of you lost to them by 5 minutes in terms of time of possession. I think it would really help out your quarterback, and it would help out just about everything else that I want to see in this game if you, wait for it, ran the football with running backs. That has been still for me. And I understand Cam Jurgens has had a lot to do with this. And since Cam Jurgens has been injured, the Eagles have not really relied on their running backs to run the football. Last week, it was a little bit of an exception. You had 23 runs by your running back. You had, 11 by Jalen Hurts last week. I would like to see a little bit more from your running backs in this game. And I know everyone gets caught up in the screen game. I know everyone gets caught up in trying to throw out of the backfield to DeAndre Swift and still putting the ball in his hands. And that's great. I give every ounce of credit where credit is due as far as that goes, still getting the ball in the hands of a playmaker like DeAndre Swift. But that does not mean you don't ignore the thing that he does best, which is simply run the football. And if you're trying to protect your quarterback, then you can't have him throwing 45, 50 times in a game. If you know your quarterback is banged up, which let's all get on the same page here, everybody knows Jalen Hurts is not 100%. So now going into this game, knowing he's not 100%, knowing it's something that's on his mind, maybe let's not have him throw the football 40 times. It seems like a very obvious thing that anyone who's ever watched a football game would understand. I look for teams a lot of times to just do the obvious, because sometimes teams don't do the obvious. Sometimes teams, they forget everything they ever knew about football. And they just do something stupid. Don't do that in this game. The Eagles have full control over whether or not they can win this game. Go out and win this game. I've told you the way they can do it with bad penalties. I played down to their opponent and all that stuff. Another way they can do it is putting their quarterback in peril. So if Brian Johnson is not shifting to run plays, if he's not shifting to let his quarterback get out of harm's way more often than not in this game, that is going to be concerning. Now, they need to establish that run early in the game, make things easier for Jalen Hurts down the line to make sure he doesn't later in the fourth quarter have to come up with, 15, 20 throws to try to win a game for this team or something crazy like that. That's something I got to see from this Eagles offense, from Brian Johnson, that I will look at and go, all is right with the world. They're running the football. They're protecting the quarterback. Jalen Hurts isn't being asked to be the focal point of the offense right now and hit the do everything button. And if it does come to that, hey, A.J. Brown, just always be open. Just do what you do, baby. Just always be open. So those are my concerns. That's what I'm looking at in this game here against the Commanders. One thing that I do find interesting about this Washington team coming into it, aside from Sam Howell, is still their pass rush. And you still have some very talented guys. Obviously, we've talked about Chase Young. We've talked about Montez Sweat. We've talked about guys in that secondary and what they could do. I am concerned to see what they bring to the table in this game because they're right now, as you guys know, they're playing some bad football. They opened up winning their first two games of the season. If you remember that first one against Jonathan Gannon, of course, against the Cardinals. They were able to win that game. Then they went out, they beat the Broncos in a crazy finish to that one. Then they lost 3 in a row, including one to the Eagles in the middle there. Then they went out and they beat the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta, and now they're coming off a loss to the New York Giants, a 14-7 loss to the New York Giants. So the battle for the basement dwelling in the NFC East is on between the Giants and the Commanders. I would like to see the Eagles in this one particular game help the Giants' cause in perhaps not finishing last. That's what I'm really looking for in this game. Other than that, Pro Football Focus rated Darius Slay one of the highest rated corners last week for his performance. I didn't see it. I know he had the big play at the end of the game, and we know that he has struggled against the Commanders in years past, against Terry McLaurin. Dotson had some big plays for him as well in the first matchup. I'd love to see Darius Slay go out there and just have a solid game wire to wire, end to end. I would even like it if I didn't even see Darius Slay in this game, other than, an interception. But I would even like it if I didn't even see Darius Slay in this game, because that means he's shutting down his guy as Sam Howell isn't even looking his way. He looks over, up, covered, looking somewhere else. Let me see that game coming up on Sunday. Let me see that game. It's not just going to be on the offense, not just going to be on the pass rush, not just going to be on Kevin Byard. It's also going to be on the cornerbacks as well. If I could also fish one more wish as far as a cornerback is concerned, Eli Ricks, keep it coming, baby. Keep it coming. Let me see that physicality. Let me see that smarts. Let me see that quickness. Let me see what you got going on there. Let me see it for 2 straight games. Let me just know that it's not a flash in the pan. Let me see that from Eli Ricks coming into this game against the Washington Commanders. Let's look at it one more time. Here's your injury list one more time with the Eagles. I find Milton Williams to be a underrated asset on that defensive line. Jordan Davis being on this list, the hamstring injury, I also find interesting. He's been on it this week, and I'm very curious to see how he fights through that in this game, because the hamstring injury, whether I don't care if you're a speed guy, if you're a wide receiver, a corner, or you're Jordan Davis on the defensive line, that injury can linger, and I think the Eagles are stacked enough where they can give him enough time off, enough plays off, whatever, if he does tweak it where you can still have him if, God forbid, it comes down to a crunch time situation in the fourth quarter. I'll give you my official prediction at the end of the game. Those are 5 things, and then a couple of honorable mentions that I've been looking forward to for this Eagles matchup against the Washington Commanders. But I will. Here's one spoiler I'll give you. I think they win. I think the Eagles win this game, and I think the Eagles go out there, and I think they improve to 7-1. I think the Kansas City Chiefs, who are going into Denver, are going to improve to 7-1 as well. I find a couple things interesting about that game. One, Patrick Mahomes is on fire right now, and he's actually on fire throwing the football. This season, he's relied more on his legs than ever, but I think the Chiefs improved to 7-1. I'm sorry. I don't know if Taylor Swift is going to be there. Let me just get that out of the way. I know Travis Kelce hopes that Taylor Swift is there, because Travis Kelce's numbers when Taylor Swift is there are pretty off the chart. But when it comes to the game itself, Patrick Mahomes is looking to improve. This is incredible. To 13-0 against the Denver Broncos. 13-0 against the Denver. Since becoming a full-time starter in 2017, he's never lost to the Broncos. And I don't think the Broncos have beaten the Chiefs since 2015. So I think even in the Alex Smith days, even in the Alex Smith days, they were struggling a little bit there. So Eagles and Chiefs, 7-1. Eagles and Chiefs, 7-1. Cowboys got the Rams this week. That should be an interesting one in Dallas. So we'll see how that plays out as well. I would love to see the Rams going. I mean, whoever wants to. Oh, I hope they go into Dallas and lose. Yeah, no. Love to see the Rams come out on top of that one. Let's get to last night's basketball game. That sucked. I can't even talk about the Phillies yet. I'll have to get to that. I'm saving that for the end. Dave Dombrowski and his. I'm just going to paraphrase what he said. I'm not going to play a bunch of cuts for you from the press conference like I do sometimes. I can't do it. I just can't put myself mentally back that far into it and listen to all of it. And then Dave Dombrowski also just has this real calm demeanor that I'm in no mood for. No mood for. So let's talk about the Sixers. I can't. They lost by a point. Now, you had the heave up there by D'Anthony Melton at the end of the game. So whatever. But he made it. Still a 1-point game. Watching this game go down last night, watching their run coming out of the third quarter or coming out of halftime, I was amazed. You get a big three from Joel Embiid. You get a big three from Tobias Harris. And then you blink, and all of a sudden the Sixers have built up an 8-point lead with 7 to go. Just under 8 to go, I think it was. And I'm like, oh my God, they're up 8 points? James Harden being told to stay back? This is incredible. They could actually win this game. Now, I was waiting, as you do in the NBA, when you know you're facing a superior opponent, and you also know that Dame Lillard is lurking on the other side now. You happen to know and understand that there's going to be some issues there down the stretch. You know they're going to make a run. So you come out in that third quarter, Embiid hits a three, Harris hits a three, 2 quick threes right out, made it a 65-60 game in favor of the Bucks. Maxey goes down. He misses 2 threes, unfortunately, that could have been just not daggers with that much time left, but would have made you feel a lot better going down the stretch. Harris gets a layup, makes it 71-69, nice in favor of the Bucks still. Giannis comes up with a huge block on Maxey. Oubre and Maxey able to crawl back in this game with a couple of more threes for the Sixers, making an 82-80 game. You keep pace with the Bucks, and that's 2:36 remaining now in the third quarter. Things are looking good for the Sixers. Reed comes up with a big block on Payne just before the end of the quarter, and it's an 88-85 Bucks edge at the start of the fourth quarter. Sixers outscored the Bucks 31-25 in that third quarter. Going to the fourth quarter, Kelly Oubre, what a debut. I'll just say this. Comes out, makes a nice play, makes the N1, makes it a 90-88 game. Harris then knocks down another three, gets 22 points, by the way, in the second half by the 8-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Hits another three to make it a 94-93 game, and the Sixers start this run. Maxey gets fouled, hits both 3 free throws. He hadn't scored in a minute there, and he helps give the Sixers their first lead in the game since it was 5-3. That's what he does in the fourth quarter. Tyrese Maxey steps up. Embiid comes up with a big block on Giannis. Oubre transitions it for 3, makes it a 97-93 Sixers lead with 8:02 left. Then Oubre makes a steal out of the timeout. He makes it 100-94 in favor of the Sixers. Sixers end up going on what I'm told out to be a 12-0 run on the Milwaukee Bucks. And I'm thinking, they can do this. I did not see them starting out the season. Oh, you know what? Maybe the Bucks need some time to transition with the Dame Lillard era. Maybe they need time for Giannis and Dame to figure it out. That's what I was hoping in my hope of hopes. And then some dumb stuff happened. Some real dumb stuff happened. Most of it involved the Sixers. Some of it involved the referees. I don't like blaming refs. I never like blaming refs. They did do something really dumb. So Tucker and Harris, Sixers in the midst of that 12-0 run. Maxey just knocked down 2 free throws. It's 102-94 with just under 8 to play. Tucker and Harris have an issue on their switch, their defensive switch. A little miscommunication there by the two. Somewhat forgivable if they, had just started playing together, but not the case. They've been around each other a minute. They have trouble switching off. Lopez ends up going to the top of the key and knocking down a 3. Okay. Defensive problem, defensive miscommunication. A 3 was hit. You're still up 5 points. Okay? It happens. That, to me, wasn't the dagger. Somebody tweeted me after the game because I was critical of Joel Embiid on this play here, that the dagger was Lopez. The dagger was not Lopez. The dagger was what happened next. Sixers get the ball in transition. They're under the basket. Ball comes out to Joel Embiid. For whatever reason, Sixers up 5. Joel Embiid found it necessary to, instead of corral, and I looked at the shot clock wasn't winding down. It wasn't like, if the shot clock was winding down, Joel Embiid would have just caught it and shot it instead of trying to do a touch pass. So that's what ended up happening. Joel Embiid has the ball, foul line extended, perimeter. Ball comes out to him. Instead of catching the basketball and making a smart play, he decides for some reason to be Pistol Pete Maravich and smacks the ball, punches it, touches it in the direction of, I think it was Maxey at the top of the key. Ball never gets there. Gets intercepted, if you even want to call it that. Crowder gets it, goes the other way, hits a 3. That was the killer. Now all of a sudden you're up 8. You were up 8. Now you're only up 2. That's all the momentum the Bucks needed on their home court. And then it was all Bucks after that. There was another play that happened. It was a 102-100 game at that point of the Crowder 3. Then Giannis Antetokounmpo, and this is one of the most bizarre things I have seen. I don't know how this wasn't called. With all the officials they have in NBA games, this wasn't called. Giannis Antetokounmpo drives the lane, puts up a shot, misses, gets his own rebound. Already right there, I'm frustrated. Sixers are giving up a number of second chance points in that second half, especially in that fourth quarter, and I didn't like it one bit. So Giannis goes up, misses the shot, gets his rebound, puts it up again, airballs it from just inside the block, airballs it over the rim. Okay? Very important. Airball. Airball meaning he touched nothing, and Giannis Antetokounmpo comes down with his own rebound. Travel, not called. Now, for the fellow former high school basketball referees such as myself, you know that the high school rule is that if it touches the backboard, if it touches the what do you call it, the rim, the backboard, whatever, you can get that rebound. But if it touches nothing and you catch it, it's a travel. In the NBA, it's a travel if it touches. I'm sorry, you can touch as long as it's a shot attempt at the high school level, you can catch it. That does not apply in the NBA. Just like 5 fouls knocks you out of every other level of basketball, 6 fouls knock you out in the NBA. This is another different rule. If the ball touches nothing, regardless of shot attempt, you can't come down with that rebound. Otherwise, it's a travel. The travel was not called, and it transitioned to a 3. Lillard ended up hitting the 3, made it a 105-104 game, and that was all she wrote for the Sixers. Giannis ended up taking over, got another driving bucket, made it 107-104. Oubre got a BS charge call. I thought that was ridiculous. Goes the other way again. Bucks end up countering the Sixers' 12-0 run with a 16-2 run. Maxey hit a 3. Also came up with another 3-point play. Embiid ended up getting rolled late in the game, and it was 113-109. He appeared to be okay afterwards. Lopez got called for an offensive foul. Maxey was able to find Embiid to make it 113-111 with 102 left. Dame hit another 3. Dame hit another 3. Harris hit a 3. And D'Anthony Melton hit the last 3 of the game to, I don't know, at least make it a little bit more closer on the scoreboard. All in all, I was really impressed by what you saw from Kelly Oubre last night. I just can't for the life of me understand why Joel Embiid would make that decision to try to touch pass it. I try not to make too much of the turnover issue with the 76ers. Because, excuse me, with Joel Embiid, because a lot of these guys, for instance, like Giannis Antetokounmpo was not good in the turnover game last night, just like Joel Embiid was not good in the turnover game last night. These guys, in general, have issues with turnovers. Sixers ended up taking a 118-117 loss overall. As far as the box score goes, Embiid had 7 turnovers in the game. Giannis Antetokounmpo also had 7 turnovers in the game. Tyrese Maxey led the way with 31 points, 8 of 10 from the free throw line, 10 of 22 shooting, 3 for 8 from beyond the arc. Kelly Oubre, 5 of 6 from beyond the arc, 27 points in the Sixer debut. Embiid came up with 24 points in 36 minutes. 6 assists, 7 rebounds. That's what you saw last night from Joel Embiid. PJ Tucker, 0 points. Tobias Harris, by the way, 20 points in the game. I think all but 4 of them came in the second half. He did not look like Tobias Harris in the first half. Like slow, very deliberate, not great. Second half looked a lot better. Embiid said after the game, he was just trying to make a play as far as the touch pass went. I just don't see how that is the right call, especially when the Sixers were playing such a great game as a team. If I had one takeaway from last night, it's one of the things that I had to say. Look, Embiid, I go with Embiid's touch pass. That was ridiculous. Yes, the referees were terrible, but Sixers could have controlled their own destiny last night. It was just rough. And that term, marginal contact. Did you guys see that? Marginal contact. We have decided that the contact was marginal. What? When has that ever been a thing? Did I miss some mandate to the NBA officials this year where it's now like before they had this stupid rule and they still kind of enforce it about not calling the foul when the foul actually happens. They don't do that anymore. They don't call the foul when the foul actually happens. You know what they do? They decide whether or not the shot goes in. Oh, wasn't that bad a foul? It missed the shot. Then they say, oh, you know what? It affected the shot. We're good. That's a problem. I don't like that. You know what else I don't like? The way they officiated the game last night. I blame the Sixers before I blame the officials. But, God, that was some pretty terrible officiating. I will say that. So the Sixers, unfortunately, start out the season with a 1-point loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. No moral victories. How dare anyone that talks about a moral victory. But I was very impressed by what I saw from Kelly Oubre. I was very impressed with what I saw from Tobias Harris in the second half. And like I said, the biggest thing that I take out of this game, I'll tell you right now, Tyrese Maxey. If Tyrese Maxey is going to fulfill my biggest desire of the season, that he becomes an all-star, I would say 31 points is a nice way to do that. Who was it last night? It was Oubre. Okay. In the first half, first half. No, first quarter. What am I saying? I wrote it down. I swear I did. Here it is. Oubre in the first quarter had 10 points in 7 minutes off the bench in the first quarter. Not bad. Not bad at all. You love to see it. Sixers took the L last night, unfortunately. I couldn't hear the question that was being asked of him last night, but when Nick Nurse I thought he was asked about the officiating with the Giannis call. So if I'm wrong on that, please forgive me. But I thought I heard the question asked, what did you see on the Giannis alleged travel? And Nick Nurse's answer was, I don't recall. He took a long pause. He pondered, and he delivered the line, I don't recall. Okay. Slick move. Way to not get fined. Way to be, fella. Way to be. That's what you had regarding your 76ers last night. As far as the rest of the sports world, the Flyers got a nice win last night. We'll get to that, but I think it's time I address this issue. Dave Dombrowski, Sam Fold, Rob Thompson addressed the media yesterday for their end-of-the-year press conferences. Here's what jumped out to me. I thought it was very interesting. And again, I really like Dave Dombrowski. The guy was one win away from making it to what would have been, I believe, his 6th World Series in his career. So I think the guy knows what he's doing. But I look at listening to his voice right now. He's such a calm individual. I just can't. Like, you ever be really mad and someone who's just really calm? Have you ever argued with someone and you're livid and they're just like, well, maybe things will work out? What? Calm down. I'm calm. That's kind of how it makes me feel. But anyway, Dave Dombrowski yesterday, a couple of things jumped out to me. One, I found it very interesting that he addressed the pressure issue. And he said he didn't know if it did, but it looked like the pressure got to some of their hitters. He said, if you go into a 7-game series and you have home field advantage and you lose game 6, all the pressure shifts to the home team. And he said it looked like some of the pressure got to these players. I don't know if it did, but it looked like it got to them. Like, that's pretty bold. All right. And guess what? I would agree. We go back to that Nick Castellanos 0 for his last 23. We go to Harper, Turner, Schwarber, and Castellanos, 1 for the last 28. I would say it looked like pressure got to these guys. The reverting back to what we saw in May from this team, other than Nick Castellanos, he was actually pretty good in the early goings of the season. Obviously, he's an all-star. But everybody else, not so great. Reverting back to what we saw before the turnaround for a lot of these guys. So, yes, if you want to go with the pressure idea, that holds water. So that was interesting. I thought it was wild that he actually admitted that, or even said it. A couple of the big offseason issues, as we know. Aaron Nola seems like he is going to be a priority. Dave Dombrowski said as much yesterday. Rhys Hoskins, it's complicated. I don't think Rhys Hoskins is back. I told you guys in spring training, you know what? He'll probably sign a 1-year deal, a 1-year prove-it deal, and he'll be back, and he'll be ready to go for 1 more year with the Phillies. And then Bryce Harper turned into a better first baseman than Rhys Hoskins. And then on the home broadcasts, as well as national broadcasts, and these guys talk to the coaches, they talk to the players, they talk to the front office. Rhys Hoskins, his name stopped getting brought up when it came to what the future holds for him in Philadelphia. He'll be one of the best free agent first basemen out there on the market. You'll be able to get him at a somewhat of a discount because of the injury. So I find it very interesting. But I don't think he's going to be back with the Phillies. I've thought that for a couple of months now. And listening to Dave Dombrowski yesterday talk about how difficult it is, how complicated the situation is, with the idea that you now have a $330 million player in Bryce Harper who can play first base. Yeah, I'll take you up on that offer. Not going to have you running around in the outfield. Can get you at first base. Less strenuous. More active, less strenuous. Yeah, okay. You can do that. Let's have you do that. I think the Phillies basically found, I think I said this yesterday, a silver lining or a what do you call it? A happy accident, a positive in the negative. They found out Bryce Harper can play first base. You can have him play first base on that contract that you make him last a little longer. By all means, he's going to be first base. I think it's going to come down, and Dave Dombrowski said this as well. He's going to talk to Bryce Harper and get a feel for it. If Bryce Harper's like, yeah, I think I'll be your first baseman for the foreseeable future. See you, Rhys. If Bryce Harper has a big desire to go back to the outfield, then you can see him go back to the outfield and Rhys Hoskins does come back. But I don't think that's the case. I think you're going to see Bryce Harper as your first baseman going forward. I think that's how it's going to come out. If the Phillies have an opportunity, the other thing is if the Phillies have an opportunity to add another bat, maybe at next trade deadline, that is a first baseman, then you have the versatility to make that move. But I do think the Phillies really like Brandon Marsh. Obviously, they love Johan Rojas. And I think they also like Christian Pache. So you're going to have a interesting mix here between your center field and right field, or excuse me, center field and left field positions here between Marsh, Pache, and obviously Johan Rojas is your starting center fielder going into the future. Obviously, Johan Rojas has to be a little bit better of an offensive player. Can't just have one home run off a pitcher and one home run off a position player who's pitching. Luplow, never forget it. It was a bullet. He apologized for hitting that home run. Anyway, as far as the Aaron Nola situation goes, this is a party. So Aaron Nola made $16 million last year. He was on that 4-year deal. Since he signed that 4-year deal, he has finished in the top 7 in Cy Young voting 3 times. He's finished in the top 4 twice. Obviously, this season, not so great. Had a good postseason run up until his last start, where he again reverted back to what we saw earlier in the season, previous to 6 straight starts of not allowing more than 2 runs in a start. This is going to be a while. Somebody's going to end up overpaying for Aaron Nola, and I don't want the Phillies to match. When I say overpaying, I'm talking about a $30 to $33, $34 million a year type of deal. Now, for comparison, Carlos Rodon, who signed with the Yankees before last year, had injuries, obviously. 6 years, $162 million. So that averaged out $27 million a year. There was that offer reported in May, I want to say, that had Aaron Nola at a 5-year, $110 million contract. That'd be $22 million a year. You're welcome. I did the math. $22 million a year. A $6 million raise from this season. That's pretty good. That's not bad. I don't think that's going to be the going rate for Aaron Nola in the open market. Aaron Nola said he wants to stay here. Dave Dombrowski said yesterday that he is a priority. I would sign Aaron Nola, but I'm not overpaying for Aaron Nola. He seems to always have that bounce back year. I would like to see him back here in Philadelphia. I don't want to see him back here in Philadelphia for anything over $30 million a year. If you're in the 25 to 28 range for Aaron Nola, I would have him sign that deal. I'd do that deal. If you're talking about 5 to 6 years, I would look at it like that. I would like to keep it to 5. You have 1 more year of Zach Wheeler. You won't have Andrew Painter next year. Christopher Sanchez will be in the starting rotation next season, as was said by Dave Dombrowski yesterday. And then I found this also interesting. I would say it's almost a flip of a coin right now with Nola, but I will say I think both parties want to be together. That's always a good start. And I think the Phillies are going to be willing to pay him close to market value. It's going to come down to a couple extra million per year, I think. I don't think there's going to be any team that's going to go, Aaron Nola, here's $30 to $40 million. I don't think that's happening. As long as that doesn't happen, Aaron Nola's going to be back with the Phillies. But Dave Dombrowski talked about next year's rotation. Said Andrew Painter is gone all next year. They don't expect him after Tommy John surgery. He was shut down on March 10th in spring training. And then he had Tommy John surgery on July 25th. March 10th to July 25th. March 10th to July 25th. I know that nobody likes surgery, but if you're an athlete, I just don't get how the writing's always on the wall and people just ignore it. Deshaun Jackson went through that in the NFL. The NFL is a little different. Obviously, you're having a lot of surgery there in the NFL, unfortunately. But to put it off like that, who else was it? Sir Anthony Dominguez put it off. So anyway, March 10th, July 25th. Finally had the surgery on July 20th. Not going to be in the rotation next year. But I did find it wild. Now, Andrew Painter is a highly touted prospect, more so than Griff McGarry and Mick Abel. But last year, if you remember, Dave Dombrowski made headlines by talking about Andrew Painter being in the starting rotation. We're saving a spot in our starting rotation for Andrew Painter. If you've been a Phillies fan your whole life, you never hear stuff like that. The thing that always goes around in my brain is when Ruben Amaro Jr. would refer to Dominic Brown as not the savior. Dominic Brown will not be our savior. Remember all that? He's not going to come up here and be our savior. This guy won't be our savior. That guy won't be our savior. That's how it was always talked about. It was never like Ryan Howard's going to come up. He's going to be amazing. Cole Hamels is incredible. He's going to be fantastic and help win a World Series. It was never, there was no pressure ever put on prospects by the front office. The only thing that was close to it was I remember Aaron Nola's first start. John Middleton was right behind the catcher in the stands, sitting in what do you call it, the Diamond Club? Yeah. Sitting in the Diamond Club, right behind home plate, just like staring down Aaron Nola. And I'm like, geez, man, I hope it doesn't. That's some pressure for the kid. Hopefully he doesn't see that. Blur it all out. I don't know. But other than that, no. Dave Dombrowski last year saying Andrew Painter is going to be in the rotation, bold, very bold. This year, he goes out of his way to say Mick Abel and Griff McGarry are not going to be on the rotation. They are not expecting Abel or McGarry to be in the starting rotation for the upcoming season. A little bit of a different tune from last year. I like it. It's less pressure. It's less pressure. Sanchez, Walker, Wheeler, maybe Aaron Nola. That'll be your rotation. Ranger, of course, Ranger Suarez. That'll be your rotation next year. Maybe Aaron Nola. The not being confident. He did say we're not 100% confident that we're going to get the deal done with Aaron Nola, but we'd like to sign him and be aggressive in trying to make that happen. That's kind of what I was telling you about both parties. They want to stay together. One last thing on Rhys Hoskins. This quote is fantastic. I found it interesting that when he was asked about Rhys Hoskins, he brought up defense. He said, our defense is important to us. And I think that's shown. We're a better defensive team after August 1st, after the August 1st scenario, the scenario that we had. But again, we have to converse about that ourselves. I thought it interesting that after Rhys Hoskins' name brought up, he right away talked about defense. As I said, Bryce Harper is already a better defender. He's already a better defensive first baseman than Rhys Hoskins. And then he's also a two-time MVP. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead. If it's between the one or the other, I'm going to go ahead. And they also have a bit of a logjam in terms of things that they like in the outfield. So it's not like Rhys is going to go play left field. It's not like Harper is going to go back to the outfield. And as much as Harper, I'm sure, would like to do his buddy a solid, I don't think he's going to do them solid of, all right, I'll go play first. I'll go play the outfield again. And then you got to start making trades, I guess, after that. But I think Rhys Hoskins has played his last game. I think Rhys Hoskins has played his last game as a Philly. One of the weirdest polarizing figures in Philadelphia in recent memory. This was a conversation last year I had with you guys, but Rhys Hoskins, I don't know about you guys, but in my circles, and I see you guys on social media too, when Rhys Hoskins' name gets mentioned, everyone talks about the overrated. Oh, he's so overrated. Oh, he's so underrated. Like, that's the conversation. And I'm like, I feel like that's a fake take. If you haven't heard me say this before, there's the hot take now, which is just something you say to get attention. Not on this show, ladies and gentlemen. Then there's something I like to call the fake take. And here's an example of the fake take. Everyone's saying Rhys Hoskins is a Hall of Famer. It's like, I hear more people say that than I do people mean it. Nobody has Rhys Hoskins as some savior, as some end-all be-all, as some future Hall of Famer, as the best, one of the best power hitters in baseball. Nobody has him in that category. After the start he had to his career with the record-setting home runs, 11 home runs, 18 days, that's pretty damn good. But nobody after that says that Rhys Hoskins is anything phenomenal. Yet there's people that hate on this false narrative that has come out about the type of player he is and how good he is. He's a good ball player. If you rate Rhys Hoskins right now, what would you call him? Good ball, good hitter, good power hitter, below average first baseman. That's the rating of Rhys Hoskins. But yet he is put in this like polarizing lightning rod conversation of, you pick a side. He's either the greatest player I've ever seen or he is terrible. He's not worth that conversation at all. So that'll be my and on a personal note, I will say this: of all the people I've interviewed over the years in Philadelphia sports, all the people I've interviewed over the years, period, one of the I'll put it as in the athlete category. Okay, plenty of writers are friends of mine, I know, but in the athlete category, the guy's an absolute class act. Always a good interview. Never wants to be ambushed. I remember I was hosting an event that he was making an appearance at, and we were able to get him on camera. And before he was like, hey, this isn't going to be anything about like any of my teammates, right? Like, he didn't want to make sure he wasn't going to be thrown throwing any teammates under the bus. And at that time, Charlie Manuel, if you remember this, just got rehired as the Phillies hitting coach. You remember that a couple years ago? Just got rehired as Phillies hitting coach. And that's what my assignment editor wanted me to talk about anyway. So I was like, no, it's about Charlie. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. It's like, unfortunately at the time, there was really nothing buzzworthy about the Phillies other than Charlie Manuel getting rehired as the hitting coach. But just an absolute class act, off-camera conversations, down-to-earth guy. And if he does move on from Philadelphia, certainly his demeanor will be missed, not just by media, but by the clubhouse. That clubhouse really loves that guy. I think it's going to be a matter of not necessarily economics, but it's going to be a matter of the roster and just not being able to fit a first baseman when you have a better option at first base on the roster already. And one that's making a couple of bucks. Let's not forget about that. So that's what stuck out to me regarding the Phillies press conference. Oh, Rob Thompson sees himself in Philadelphia beyond next year, loves the city, loves the team, loves the guys, everything you would assume he'd say. And Sam Fold was there. I feel bad for guys if Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni do a joint press conference, especially in the first year of Nick Sirianni, they're both sitting up there. Nick gets no questions. Was it Paul Millsap? Who was traded with James Harden? I'm losing my mind. This just jumped on my head, so I didn't look it up before the show. Whoever it was that was traded with James Harden, the question was all the questions were to James Harden, and then finally somebody asked a question of somebody else. I think it was Millsap. I don't know. And he was just like, thanks. It was getting pretty weird up here, me not being asked a question, so I appreciate the question. And everyone started laughing. But yeah, Sam Fold, hey, continue to do whatever you do, man. This team's been to a World Series. This team was one win away from going to another one. Just keep doing you, man. Just keep doing you. And Dave Dombrowski, let's push a couple better buttons in the upcoming season. Flyers. I don't want to forget about the Fly guys. How about this? Flyers won, 3 straight at home? They beat the Canucks in their opener. Then they beat the Oilers in their second game at home. Lost 2 in a row on the road to Dallas and then to the Golden Knights. Rough one to the Golden Knights. And then, actually, both those games on the road, they were 1-goal losses. They lost to the Stars 5-4, and then they lost to the Golden Knights 3-2. And then last night, ladies and gentlemen, your Philadelphia Flyers, they improved to 3-2-1 in a tank year. Who knew? They improved to 3-2-1 in the tank year. They go out there in South Philly last night, and they win 6-2. How about that? Your Flyer goals. Bobby Brink. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Comes away with 2 goals. Does the winger. Very nice. 2 goals, 3 shots on goal for him. Sean Couturier came up with a goal and an assist. Nice to see Coots out there skating about. Travis Konechny. If you haven't seen Travis Konechny's goal yet, first period, I want to say. Beautiful shot. Comes down from the left circle. Well, if you're going by the goaltender, right circle. Comes down. Pulls back. It's such a horrible hockey description. Fires a snapshot, top left corner of the goalie. Beautiful. Thing of perfection for that goal. And then Owen Tippett came up with a goal as well. Travis Sanheim also had a goal for the Flyers. And then Carter Hart was in net, making 26 saves on 28 shots. Not a bad night for the Flyers. Again, they improved to 4-2-1 on the season. 4-2-1. That game was on ESPN as well. Lovely to see it. 3-0 at home. Let me tell you guys about the great people at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Go to MyBookie.ag and check out all they have to offer at MyBookie.ag. Now, what do they got? Well, how about this? You see it in the crawl right there. How about up to $200 cash bonus at MyBookie.ag when you use promo code Farzy? And also, bet on these long shot odds with their money bag to grab a potential Super Bowl frontrunner at long shot odds of plus 38,000 on the Eagles and Chiefs. Yeah, Eagles and Chiefs plus 38,000. You ain't getting that anywhere else. Go to mybookie.ag. Find those odds. Bet anytime, anywhere, and only at MyBookie and MyBookie.ag and use promo code Farzy. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing this fine Friday morning. Going to start it out on load, please. There we go. Started off on the Farzy Show page. See how you guys are doing. Ahead of the weekend. Blue City Empire Sports. What? What's going on? IBH, what's going on? Mike Fuji, good morning. Happy Friday. Jason A, good morning. April, good morning. Jason A, it was Paul Millsap. Thank you. All right, cool. My memory is still okay. Blue City Empire Sports, off the books here. Your opinion on quarterback 2, Tyrod Taylor, filling in, winning a game for the New York Giants against the Washington Commanders. It can't get much worse than Daniel Jones, so that's my opinion. I just don't have a lot of respect for Daniel Jones at all, actually. So that's my opinion on that. Thanks for the Giants question. Appreciate you. Oubre is the wing we needed forever now. Jason A, it certainly seems like that. Farzy, do you think the Phillies will sign another pitcher? They'll see how the Nola situation goes. But they seem to be pretty set right now as far as next year's rotation goes, assuming Nola gets signed. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it as of right now. Let me just check real quick over on the Jacob Sports page, see what you guys got going on. Okay, Campbell! The refs were horrible. I agree. Campbell! I will let Nola walk. If you get him at a good price, I'd bring him back. That is the most obvious thing you can ever say. It depends on the money. It depends on the money. And B looks like he doesn't want to be here. His body language said it all. Oof. One game, we're already there. Folks, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are fantastic. I'll see you guys coming up Sunday morning. I guess it will be. Yeah, Sunday morning ahead of the 1 o'clock start time from Ocean Casino. I'll be along there for the halftime show and post-game show as well. For more me today, check me out on Fox 29 coming up at 7:45. See you guys then. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my man Jim Hyde, producer program, did a wonderful job as per usual. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Take it easy. Bye.